used to think the world was huge and anonymous. Like, you could disappear into it. One passport stamp after another, new cities, new faces, new accents. I imagine myself walking through foreign streets as just another tourist, a blonde American girl blending badly into crowds and getting lost on purpose. What I did not expect was this. Everywhere I went, somehow there was always a Filipino nearby, not metaphorically. Not spiritually, literally. The first time it happened, I laughed it off. I was in Rome, standing in front of the Colosseum, trying to look mysterious and cultured while secretly Googling where to find the nearest bathroom. A street vendor smiled at me and said, "Miss, picture?" in accented English. Before I could answer, another vendor yelled something in Tagalog from across the street. The man turned around and replied in Tagalog. I froze. I didn't know what they said, but I knew that language. I had heard it before. I have Filipino neighbors back home in California. Sweet people, always smiling, always offering food I didn't know how to pronounce. I stood there thinking, why are there Filipinos arguing about business strategy in front of a 2,000-year-old Roman ruin? One of them noticed me staring and smiled even wider. First time in Rome, miss? That smile, that warmth, that instant friendliness. I nodded, still confused. Enjoy Italy. Very hot today, yes? I walked away laughing, telling myself it was just coincidence. Rome is a big tourist city. Of course there would be Filipinos there, but then it happened again, and again, and again. In Dubai, I got lost in a massive mall that looked like an airport, a spaceship, and a luxury hotel all had a baby. I was standing in front of an escalator, clearly defeated by modern architecture, when a woman approached me. "Miss, you look lost." I felt seen. She worked at a perfume kiosk. Her English was perfect. Her smile was gentle. Her patience was impressive. She didn't rush me. She didn't judge me. She walked me halfway across the mall just to show me the exit. Before we parted, she said, "I'm from the Philippines." "Of course you are," I thought. In Tokyo, I ducked into a tiny ramen shop during a sudden rainstorm. I was soaked, grumpy, and starving. The chef came out, handed me a towel, and spoke to me in English that felt oddly familiar. "Don't worry, rain here very strong sometimes." We talked while I slurped noodles and tried not to embarrass myself. "You live here?" I asked. "Yes, 10 years now." "I'm Filipino." I nearly choked on my ramen. In Paris, it was a hotel cleaner who greeted me every morning with a cheerful, "Good morning, miss," while I looked like a human croissant. In London, it was the nurse who helped me when I caught a bad cold. In Singapore, it was the taxi driver who gave me life advice during a 20-minute ride. Everywhere I went, Filipinos were there, quietly holding the world together. At first, it became a joke I told friends. "If you're ever lost abroad, don't worry," I'd say. "A Filipino will find you before Google Maps does." But then I went to the Philippines itself. That's when everything clicked. I landed tired, sweaty, and unprepared for the heat. Within 5 minutes, someone had already helped me with my luggage. Another person had offered directions, and a third had called me "Ma'am" with more respect than I'd ever received in my life. In small towns, people waved at me like they'd known me for years. In cities, strangers warned me about scams, traffic, and where not to walk at night. In provinces, families invited me to eat with them even though we had just met and I was clearly not dressed appropriately for anything. I realized something strange. Filipinos don't just travel. They carry their culture with them. They bring kindness like it's part of their passport. I tested this theory without meaning to. In Spain, my luggage didn't arrive. I stood at the airport carousel staring at nothing, trying not to cry in public. A man next to me noticed my face and said, "Don't worry, miss." Airlines always like this. I didn't even have to ask. "I'm Filipino," he added, like an explanation. He helped me file a report, told me where to buy cheap clothes, and joked that at least now I had an excuse to shop. In New York, I shared an Uber with a stranger after a concert. The driver started playing music quietly. Halfway through the ride, it turned into karaoke. Guess where the driver was from? In Australia, I stayed at a hostel where dinner turned into a potluck. There was pasta, curry, something burned, and one dish that everyone kept going back to, lumpia. The person who made it apologized because it wasn't perfect. Everyone else acted like it was a miracle. The more I traveled, the more I noticed patterns. Filipinos were nurses, cooks, caregivers, hotel staff, engineers, sailors, drivers, teachers. They worked jobs that required patience, jobs that required heart, jobs where being human mattered more than being impressive. They sent money home. They missed birthdays. They worked holidays. They adapted to new cultures without losing their own. And yet, they still smiled. One night in a small European city, I wouldn't name because I don't want to sound dramatic. I felt lonely. Like deeply lonely. Travel loneliness is strange. You're surrounded by people, but none of them know you. I went to a bar and sat quietly. A group nearby was laughing loudly. One of them noticed me and waved. "Come sit with us." I hesitated, but I went. Within 10 minutes, someone had ordered food for the table. Within 20, they were asking about my family. Within 30, they were teasing each other like siblings. Filipinos. Again, I told them about my theory. That no matter where I went, Filipinos were there. One of them laughed and said, "Because we are everywhere. We migrate faster than Wi-Fi." Another added, "We adapt." But we don't forget. That stayed with me. They don't forget who they are. Back home in the US, I started noticing Filipinos more. At hospitals. At airports. At grocery stores late at night. The people who stayed calm when others panicked. The ones who smiled at customers who didn't smile back. I thought about all the times I'd been helped abroad by someone who didn't owe me anything. Someone who didn't know my name. Someone who just saw a lost person and chose kindness. I realized the world feels smaller not because of airplanes or the internet, but because certain people connect it. Filipinos are bridges. They bridge cultures, languages, homesickness, and loneliness. They bring a sense of home into places that don't feel like home. Now when I travel, I notice them immediately. Sometimes it's the accent. Sometimes it's the laughter. Sometimes it's the way they look out for others without being asked. And every time, I feel a little safer. I still travel solo. I still get lost. I still mispronounce everything. But now I know something I didn't before. No matter where I go in the world, there's a good chance a Filipino is nearby, working hard, smiling softly, holding a piece of humanity together. And somehow, that makes the world feel less scary. It makes it feel like home is not a place. It's a people.